Coming up, Apple's got an announcement coming up in the first week of March. We'll get into what we think it is. Also, Apple's fast-tracking 3 wearable AI products, and one of them is already a known bust. There's some big changes in iOS 26.4. We've got a really, truly genius MacBook Air setup, and our hands-on with a great iPhone game controller for the rest of us. So, welcome to the Codcast. I'm your host, Leander Caney. Joining me today, D. Griffin Jones. Hey, Griffin.
Good evening. And we're also joined by Lewis from the wonderful lands of Tahoe.
Yes, Mac OS Tahoe. It's frigid and I can't see anything.
I thought you were talking about real Tahoe. I thought you were going to be like buried in an avalanche.
I feel like I am buried in an avalanche of like weird UI. I can't, all the weird icons, like, what? You can't like change this crap on me. I don't know. To be honest, not as bad as I feared. Not as bad as I had been led to believe. But, it just takes some getting used to. I got to something yesterday where I'm like, where did the little buttons go? What's going on? Why did it? I can't remember what it was. Some app that just like did not work as.
You don't like it? You don't like change?
No, not really. I don't like icons that don't look anything like they used to. I don't like things that used to be in the menu bar and now are not for no apparent reason. Yeah, I don't know.
And disappeared. Didn't it disappear some stuff from your menu bar?
Well, yeah, it disappeared the shortcuts thing, which I used, all the time. I press a little thing and all these things are supposed to happen for the podcast, all the setup changes. Used to work fine, used to be right there. Now I had to like search it out, which is fine. But I pressed it and nothing happened. I waited and I pressed it again like a monkey, trying to get a pellet out of it.
Icons in the menu bar. How do you feel about that? Like how every menu bar item has an icon?
Yeah, I don't know how different it is. I got so much garbage up there. It's just sort of.
Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah,
time for a clean.
I'm sure there's a lot of things I could do to make my situation a little better here.
All right, so we've got some exciting news this week. Apple finally announced its March event, which is coming up on the week of March 4. And this one's going to be different, isn't it? What's different about this one, Lewis?
Yeah, well, it's not a Apple keynote, we're guessing. It's a special Apple experience, in quotes. Apple sent out the invites this week for just select media members to attend these special Apple events in 3 cities. Not one of them is in California. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
New York, London, and Shanghai. So, yeah, it's interesting. The theory people are talking about online is that this is going to be like, that's a Wednesday, right? So Apple is going to like release a press release a day or a batch of press releases a day on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and then have this hands-on event for the press to show off whatever products they've I just said product, just like Tim Cook, whatever products they've announced. Yeah. Lander, you were theorizing, talking about how smart the strategy is, so that it and I guess they have done this in the past where they released a bunch of things by press releases.
Right, yeah. Because I think the problem wasn't, like they'd have a big keynote and they'd release Apple Watches and AirPods and then the iPhone, and right afterwards, all the headlines would just be about the iPhones, and it'd be, oh, by the way, they also released some watches and some AirPods, and they really wouldn't get, the focus that they probably deserved. This way, I think everyone gets its own news cycle. For the first day, everyone will be talking about whatever they announced on the first day. The second day, they'll be announced on the next product, and the third, so on and so on and so forth. So each one gets a chance to shine. And they did this before, right, Griffin? How many times? They've done this twice before.
More than twice, but 2 examples that stuck out in my mind was the November 2024 time when they introduced all of the M4 generation Macs. They did, I think it was the iMac on Monday, the Mac Mini on Tuesday, the MacBook Pros on Wednesday, and they still had like videos for them, but it wasn't like an Apple keynote video. They just had like John Turnus for like 10 minutes telling you about this new Mac this day. Another time they did it before was in the spring of 2019 when they had the a flurry of sort of lesser products, kind of like what this event is going to be. They had the iPad Mini 5, the AirPods 2, like the iPad Air, like 10 point whatever inch screen, some of the older ones, and Yeah, they've done this strategy before. It's always interesting to see what makes an Apple event and what doesn't, what news is worthy. And even at this point, we have the new strategy of like, they might have an Apple event, but it's not quite a full keynote. So I guess this is, you can read the tea leaves as to how Apple thinks about these products based on how much attention they give them. I mean, you said that in September events, the iPhone overshadows everything else. I mean, this is a lesser iPhone, the 17e. It's not the Pro phone, so there might be less of that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, these. But the funny thing is that these aren't just chip and ships, are they? There's at least one big brand new product that I think probably deserves its own announcement. This is what we're reckoning. We're thinking the first day is going to be the iPhone 17e. The second day is probably going to be iPads, and that might be an iPad 12 with a newer chip and more RAM to support Apple Intelligence. And maybe the M4 iPad Air. And the third day, MacBooks, which is probably going to be a MacBook Pro with the M5 Pro and M5 Max chips, and the M5 MacBook Air, which is going to be a killer machine. But then followed by, this is the one that that really probably deserves its own keynote, which is the new low-cost MacBooks, which are powered by an iPhone chip rather than an M-series processor. They're going to be made of aluminum, and they're aimed at students and office workers, and they'll reportedly come in a variety of fun colors, which could be light yellow, light green, blue, pink, classic silver, and dark gray. And it's worth noting that the three colors from the invite are light green, blue, and yellow, which could also be the colors that this new low-cost MacBook could come in. The other possibilities are a new Apple TV, a HomePod Mini 2, and a Studio Display 2, which no one gives a
Apple TV
fig about. Yeah, actually, that's kind of surprisingly popular.
Look, I'm very excited for the new Apple TV. I actually have two TVs in my house now, and so one of them, like if I ever want to switch to the upstairs TV, I just have to unplug the Apple TV and bring it upstairs and plug it in. I'm ready for a second Apple TV, so that both TVs can have one.
I like Roku, to be honest. Like I get a Roku stick. I think Roku's fantastic.
Oh God.
I see a little skepticism there.
No.
Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. This new low-cost MacBook is going to kill. I think like Apple's already killing it in the Mac market share has, I think, never been healthy, and the lineup is amazing. Like the MacBook lineup, there's never been a better lineup of Macs. And this new MacBook Air, I think, going down into the less, the lower cost, like it's going to. I don't think there's anything on the Windows side that kind of competes with this, is there? Even I saw some ads for some new Dell ones, which are made of aluminum, but I don't. I think these are just going to kill that. And of course, the new M5 chips too, killer.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to see the higher power ones, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, so it's going to be an exciting week, isn't it? Even the new iPads, I've got a low-end iPad, the iPad 11, and I don't know if I miss Apple Intelligence. It does kind of bug me if I think about it, but this thing being able to support Apple Intelligence, again, I think Apple's doing a really good job with its low-end products. These days there always used to be compromises, and the last few ones, there are no compromises anymore. Or any serious compromises.
I was, I actually don't know if I'll have the bandwidth to review one of the iPads as well, because I want to do the 17e. I also definitely want to review the MacBook. I don't know if I'll have, the space to review a third iPad, but I'm looking forward to the opportunity to review an iPad, especially after iPad OS 26. Because a year ago, when I reviewed the M3 iPad Air, part of the conceit of the review was like, I'm going to see how much of my work I can do on an iPad. And that's radically changed in the last year. They've brought out a completely new multi-windowing system. They've added a bunch of features to Final Cut and Logic for iPad. They've now added Pixelmator for iPad. I'd like to get my hands on that. So a big change in power of the iPad. So this would, even the cheap iPad 12, I imagine, will be a very powerful device.
Yeah. That for light work, if you're not doing anything heavy, perfectly capable and nice, and a beautiful thing to work on as well. Nice screen, super easy to work with. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on. Apple's working with some game-changing AI wearables. This is kind of an interesting story, right, Lewis?
Oh, it's so interesting.
I think it is, actually. It is.
No, it sounds interesting. This is like a whole new categories, multiple new categories of stuff, right? So they're talking about the latest news is that they're really like accelerating their work on these things. These 3 products. One is smart glasses with high definition cameras built into them. This is supposedly going to take on the Ray-Ban Meta lineup, which I guess is surprisingly popular. I still have not yet seen any in the wild, as far as I know. These things sounds kind of interesting. They're also talking about working on an AI pin or pendant, and also AirPods with cameras of some sort, which we've discussed in the past. But first up, the smart glasses. This is the part that I found really interesting about this. Supposedly come in several sizes and colors, but Apple's reportedly testing a bunch of different prototypes already, using high-end materials, give them real premium feel, and they're targeting start of production supposedly as early as December, so that these might come out next year. The 2 camera systems, one with that'll capture the high-def video and still images, and another that's just for providing input for AI-powered features. And that's a commonality in all these things. The AirPods that come with cameras, those are not going to be for live streaming your day. They're going to be for capturing your surroundings and helping the smarter Siri, whenever that arrives, giving it more input, explaining to it where you're at in a city, for instance, so you can get better navigation. Apple. This is a great quote. Apple reportedly sees the glasses as an all-day AI companion capable of capturing actual information about your surroundings. That there was something in there, and I don't remember the detail now, but there was something about the makeup of it, like ceramic or something in it. What am I hallucinating now?
Maybe. It says they're testing a bunch of materials. There's a detail in there where Apple was considering having a partner, like, how Meta's partnering with Ray-Ban, but then they ultimately decided, no, we're just going to design them all ourselves. So I'm kind of intrigued to see what they do, like an Apple approach to glasses, like kind of how, they make a bunch of, Apple Watch accessories in a couple different styles. As long as Apple has one that's like, a brown tortoise color, I'm in, I'll give it a go.
Well, the glasses are so, everyone's got different glasses, haven't they? There was hundreds and hundreds of different styles and materials you can choose from. I wonder.
And as long as they have a Steve Jobs Heritage Edition, then John Prosser can collect his
John
being
Lennon
right points
style.
for it.
It's a tough problem, isn't it? I mean, if they just do the one, Meta's just got the one Ray-Ban style, hasn't it? I don't think it only comes in one. It's like a Ford Model T. It only comes in, you can get any color you want as long as it's black. And I think, Apple, like you said, has got a history of shipping a bunch of different styles. But everyone is a different SKU. Everyone's different. It makes the manufacturing much more complicated.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about glasses is how everybody's face is different, right? And you put different shapes on different faces, and it's obviously some look better on some faces than others. It's very, very personal and very it's a part of your look, right? I mean, my wife has, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 pairs of glasses, some of which are incredibly like crazy looking Prada ones, and for her it's almost like a costume she wears, whether on stage or even just, going out. She has these, a bunch of them. So, I mean, what will Apple come up with, though? I mean, I'm guessing they'll be, like, if you think about the Apple Watch, remember the first time you saw an Apple Watch, it's just kind of like, wow, that looks very sort of neutral. It's...
I mean, the first few years of the Apple Watch, everybody only had like the built-in sport band, it seemed. So every Apple Watch you saw looked the same. But now that it's like a mature market and there are like dozens of bands that you can get for incredibly cheap, the people who've had Apple Watches are probably on like their second or third one. Like, I see much more variety now than I did 10 years ago. The band I've got on now is like sort of like a brown leather one.
For the band. So I wonder whether, you can't get away with that with glasses, though, can you really? It's not really analogous, is it?
Well, the glasses that I have are by a company called Pair, and they have different like magnetic tops that just like snap on in an instant. So I have like one that's like sunglasses. At my old job, I made like custom ones where I got like sort of like a white band, and then I glued on like safety glass things to the side. So they're like snap-on safety glasses that I could wear. And if you have like a more neutral color one, you can like maybe a white your glasses are white or gray, then you can pop on different ones, like just add color, or different colored sunglasses.
Yeah, but you couldn't change the shape of the lens so much. So the shape of the glass is going to remain the same, but you could decorate it with a whole bunch of stuff, magnetic add-on stuff, and make them really crazy Dame Edna Everage style. Or what about those Happy New Year ones?
I mean,
where it has a message across the top. Well, what about the glass hole problem? Because I think that's still an issue, isn't it? I mean, no one likes talking to somebody with a pair of glasses that are recording them staring at you.
Well, I mean, Apple's going to make it super obvious that that's what's going on, right? I mean, they're not. That's the one thing that you can always count on Apple doing is like overcorrecting or being like maybe too obvious. I mean, you could almost imagine like a giant red bar that says "on air." It's going to be like that obvious.
Maybe it would have that Siri glowing, that the new Siri effect, so that it glows around the eyepieces to let someone know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're recording with the Vision Pro, the whole thing like flashes white on the eyesight display in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be obvious.
It's applied to something similar.
So I said ceramic elements. It's acrylic elements. They're saying they're going to have acrylic elements that make it high end.
Does acrylic associated with high end?
That was kind of what I was wondering. But I mean, if Apple does privacy right, the other thing that they do right is pick out good materials, right? I mean, it's not. I guarantee these aren't going to look and feel cheap. Mm-hmm. It's probably not going to be cheap either, but
well, what about battery life? How are they going to do battery life? Do you think these things are really going to last all day?
They probably won't do that much, honestly.
AirPods last for quite some time, and they're
but
tiny.
They're not running cameras and microphones and.
Well, and I mean, the other part about all three of these products, and this is not in the show notes, but I remember they're all tied to the iPhone. So the iPhone does all the heavy lifting, processing and stuff. So, or not all the heavy, but you know what I mean. So that'll make it easier. Plus, I mean, if they have large temples, that's what those are called, right? Temples on the glasses. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's plenty of room. Think how tiny an AirPod is. Think how tiny an AirPod battery is. And you remember Anchor used to make these things, these I can't remember what they called them. I don't think they call them smart glasses. I think they called them like audio glasses. And they had different frames that you could buy, and then the temples would attach to them, so you could have different styles.
Well, those thick temples, there are some smart glasses out there that have really thick temples. I think there was some shown at CES, and I think they were claiming all-day use. But I think unlike this one, they were doing all the processing on board. Like I think video, catching video, especially high-def video, eats up it requires a lot of compute and will eat up battery life. Action cams, even though they have, they only have a few hours battery life. But like you said, if it has a fairly simple camera and it's streaming to the iPhone where the video capture is actually done on the iPhone, that would take a lot of the, like a heavy load off of the glasses themselves. So they may not have to have huge fat batteries. What about like if it came like the Vision Pro with some kind of like battery pack they have to stick in your back pocket?
Jeez. No way.
That would instantly kill it as a product.
Yeah.
Well, and do you want to, what about, well, let's talk about this afterwards, because there's another issue that, I'm a little bit nervous about, which is like listening to you all day. That brings us to the next one. Apple's going to get into this AI Pin 2, right, Lewis?
Yeah, I think it was described as a pendant in the original story on this, but this is like we talked about this before because the Information had a report about it, right? It's supposedly an AirTag-sized pin or pendant that you can either attach to your clothing or wear, with as a necklace, so you look like a real hippie.
Do you think it'll have a peace sign coming in the shape of a peace sign?
Yeah. Supposedly, this is capture video constantly, feed the data to the iPhone. This report comes from Bloomberg, and they said that some Apple employees are calling it, quote, the eyes and ears of the phone. So once again, it's not capturing, I think it's not capturing video that is going to be like high-def video. It's more like giving input to the phone, and so the AI can do stuff. It's not going to have lasers like the old Humane's failed AI pin. No display. Apple hasn't supposedly not decided whether to add a speaker to it or not. Early stage of development, who knows if it's ever going to see the light of day. But the time frame is that if it does happen, it could launch as early as next year. I mean, that's what's kind of crazy about this. This stuff is not like 8 years down the pike. It's coming soon. And, they're competing with OpenAI is trying to create some sort of device like this, supposedly, with Johnny Ives. Amazing talents putting that together. So, Apple's got to feel like they're. I sometimes wonder, does Tim Cook actually think that they're up to speed on AI, or does he just every day wake up going, "Oh my God, how are we going to catch up?" Surely he's grounded enough to know that they're seriously behind, and it sounds like this is let's get serious about doing these products so they come out, reasonably close to when these competing products come out, as opposed to just waiting around till there's 57 of these things and then, we'll do it the right way, the typical Apple thing. Although, there is already I've got one of these Anchor, voice recorders, right? And it does kind of stuff like this, but it's more like just recording it and then giving you a transcript, which I'm sure that this kind of thing would be able to do. But, that thing doesn't actually feed into the AI. And I think the really interesting thing about all this stuff is if it gets to the point where you go visit New York City, you come out of a subway, you're wearing this pin or these glasses or AirPods or whatever, the camera sees where you're at. The phone already knows, oh, you're in roughly this location. But then this thing says, oh, you can imagine something like the stupid workout buddy whispering into your ear, oh, see that tall building on the left with the green front? That is the XYZ building. You need to go just past that and turn left. That's what the dream, I think, of all this stuff is that it gets all this contextual data about where you're at and what you're doing, and then it does something helpful.
And we're going to talk about AirPods with ear cams. And the AI pen and the glasses, they kind of sound almost like the same functionality, the same sort of set of sensors, but in a different form factor. So the glasses, have got, a high def camera for getting video for the first point of, that first person video, but also, like a lower res camera for the AI and ears for and mics for the AI. The pendant has a low definition camera to feed the AI and ears for the AI, and the AirPods with ear cams the same. It's audio and video input for the AI, but they're all in 3 different form factors. One you put on you wear as glasses. The other one you can wear as a pendant or as something you clip to your shirt, and the third one is you put in your ear, like your AirPods right now. That's what it sounds like to me. That common functionality across these 3 different devices. You've got 3 form factors, but they're all doing the same basic thing, which is feeding data to the smarter Siri.
Right, and so you can choose. What do you want to wear? With the glasses, I'm sure though. Well, I'm not sure, but you would suspect that they will come up with a situation like they do with the Vision Pro, where you can use your own prescription. Right? That's it's
got to be. Absolute must.
The big problem with all that stuff is can you imagine? Oh well, it sucks already buying a pair of glasses. They cost a lot, right? And now you're like, oh, I'm going to buy an expensive pair of smart glasses, and I'm going to get my prescription so that I can actually see. That's a pretty big sort of gamble that you're going to like the product.
Well, for people who wear glasses, I remember the transition when I had to first start wearing glasses, and I hated it. I didn't like them on my face. I didn't like having to take them with me everywhere. I keep on forgetting them. If you don't wear glasses, you're not going to wear glasses, I don't think. If you don't have to wear glasses, no one is going to put on it voluntarily. Sunglasses are the only exception. That's the only time people wear glasses in it, when they put sunglasses on. But I don't think that it's the kind of thing that people will voluntarily put on their face unless they have to. I think. I don't think, right? Don't you think that people who don't have to wear glasses, I don't think they're going to volunteer themselves to wear glasses, even if they are smart glasses.
That's interesting. I kind of figured the other way around. People would be more likely to try them if they didn't already wear glasses, because they wouldn't be committed, right? They got 2 weeks to check it out and see if it's actually awesome. And who knows? I mean, if these things look really cool, people might go, "Oh, wow! The classic thing. Well, you look smarter with glasses on. Well, so I'll look smarter, and I'll actually kind of be smarter because I'll have all this, amazing data being captured at all times that will help me know which way to turn when I'm walking down the street or whatever."
Well, you just made me realize that, as usual, I'm talking bollocks because the Apple Watch is a good example, isn't it? I mean, people said the same thing about the Apple Watch. Like, people don't wear watches anymore. No one's going to wear a watch. Look at it. Now everyone's got an Apple Watch. Everybody's got an Apple Watch. So, because the functionality. So if it does afford, like crazy functionality, then yeah, people, I guess, will wear it.
I mean, at the same time, like if you're looking at, you or me, right? I mean, I wear glasses every day. So if these three products come out roughly the same time frame, and it's like we're guessing here that they all sort of essentially enable the same sort of functionality, except that the glasses let you, film your friends at the brewery or whatever. I mean, I'm not exactly that kind of social media influencer where I'm going to want to go and capture first person video of everything that I do. So, I'd probably go with the upgraded AirPods or the Pin rather than going with the glasses, since I have to wear glasses every minute of every day.
And the AirPods, they could arrive as early as this year. That was probably the first one, wasn't it? I think these are the first ones we're going to see.
And it's the one we've been hearing about forever too, right? And like there was some sort of like confusion. Is it infrared cameras? Is it actual, cameras? What is it? Is it cameras to? I think some people thought maybe the AirPods with ear cams would be about capturing yourself going down a ski slope or something too. But it sounds like that's not the case at all. This is just gathering data.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very intriguing, isn't it? Because they've been bouncing between infrared cameras or maybe low resolution cameras, and kind of exactly what they do and what kind of data they capture, still a mystery.
I mean, in terms of trade-offs, yeah, there's a bunch of people who don't wear glasses, but there's also a bunch of people who have long hair that covers their ears, so the AirPods with ear cams wouldn't be useful at all to them.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. Not having had long hair that covers my ears for about 40 years.
Yeah, right, exactly. But not a problem I've had for a long time. All right, let's thank our sponsor. So thanks again, Colton Mac, for sponsoring this week's show.
So generous.
I know. Where would we be without our gold sponsor? Colton Mac newsletter. Go to newsletters.coltonmac.com. Sign up for our daily newsletter, which has the open rate now is crazy. It's up to 80% every day, which shows that people like this newsletter. They open it, and some of our feedback. I mean, someone wrote me a nice letter saying, it's the one newsletter the one email I genuinely look forward to every day.
But that was Griffin, right?
My mom, yeah. No, it wasn't. It was a genuine reader. So, and all the feedback is nice like that. And we have polls every day, which we're super popular. Always get a ton of comments on them. A lot of submissions. The Steve Jobs quotes. This was the most upsetting thing. We did a poll about that. We did a poll about. Some people were saying that the only reason they read the newsletter is for the Steve Jobs quotes. And they skip past everything else, which, okay,
God.
Thanks very much. Wallpaper of the day, not so popular, but I like it, so it's staying. And tweets, yeah, so we have a selection of great tweets. And actually, this is we're going to be talking about. Griffin just scrolled by it, but everyone's raving about the new Apple Music app in the latest iOS beta, so we're going to be talking about that in a second. In fact, there we go. Let's transition to that. The next iOS. So thanks very much, Colton Mac, for sponsoring this show. The next iOS 26.4 beta just came out, and yeah, people are already raving about it. It's already got some great new features.
So unlike iOS 26.3, which was mostly a bunch of bug fixes, the upcoming iOS 26.4 update will pack some pretty big new features and changes. The big one is that it packs full page artwork for albums and playlists in the Apple Music app. A lot of people are raving about this. Normally how it works is, you tap on an album or a playlist and you see the artwork at the top, and the bottom is just the system color of white or black. But now it's sort of a full bleed color. So if you have a predominantly, purple album artwork or something, like all of Apple's have bright colors that fill the whole top of the screen. The whole thing will be purple and more themed, more immersive in that way. So
that is a term you don't hear every day. Full bleed.
Right, back to the old print days. And you get some cool animations, don't you? If the album artwork is animated or has some kind of video in it, it plays.
Yeah.
And so I saw some comparison screenshots.
Apples are special, and they can be.
Yeah, because you don't get that in Spotify, do you? Or YouTube Music. And I saw some comparisons where they're putting up screenshots, and like it makes Spotify look awful. Although I don't know how much of people sitting there, while you're playing music, watching it, but it does make it nice. It's a much nicer experience.
Everybody says that like the Spotify interface is so much better than Apple Music. I've used Spotify a few times. That could not be further from the truth. It's so like not information dense. Like everything is giant. Like you can't see like more than 3 things on the screen at once. There's like, I really like how Apple Music is like full of menus everywhere. Like you can tap on any song, you get like a full list of context menus and options. You can tap and hold on things. There's the 3 dots buttons everywhere. Like Apple Music feels like this is the one for power users who want options and settings and buttons everywhere. Spotify is inscrutable to me.
Yeah, I've been downloading music for offline use, and I found that's a lot easier than it used to be. And you can now download it's pretty easy to download a whole album, a whole playlist, really pretty easily. That functionality is really good. I like that lower bar too. Like people that hated that, didn't they, when it first came out? But I found it actually quite usable. Once you get sort of used to it. And the logic of it. And the search is not too bad. The search has kind of got better, maybe, sort of.
You can search for lyrics now. So if there's like the one song where like the one lyric, you can search for that and it'll come up. That's great. Yeah. Anyway, that's not new though in 26.4. That's been there forever. It also adds a new feature called Playlist Playground. Building on the incredible branding of Image Playground.
Sure to
it
take
uses
off.
AI to help you create a playlist. You can either enter a prompt describing the kind of songs you want to hear, select from one of the available ones, or directly add songs or albums. So we've got, you can type in, it asks you, what do you want to hear? You can type something in and it'll suggest playlist items. I haven't messed around with this too much, but I guess there was a post on Mac Stories where apparently this used to be a thing like 10 years ago on Beats Music. Where it could do this, and so now it's brought back to life by the power of Apple Intelligence.
This is kind of like radio stations, isn't it? But like a radio station based on an artist. But what's the difference, really? I mean, that you can see what's coming up.
You can type in something really specific that you want. Like the example in the article we have here is somebody typing in, house and EDM tracks, but you can type in like anything you want, And it'll make one for you.
I want songs with bacon in the title.
Yeah, you can do that.
Is this your meat core, Lewis?
Yeah, meat core. It's going to take over the world.
Tell us about your meat core idea. I thought this was genius.
Yeah, just songs about meat.
But it got tied into a whole live experience where there's going to be barbecue with music.
Oh, yeah. We used to always have those rock and roll barbecues, man. That was a great event. In fact, there was a song. We wrote a song called "Rock and Roll Barbecue." This was the Electric Boogie Dogs, not the Those Darn Accordions. The sadly disbanded Electric Boogie Dogs.
My friends and I used to come up with a bunch of silly songs all about bacon.
Sounds right up your alley, Lewis.
And that's completely true. Yeah,
I'm telling you, it could be a hit for someone.
It's also possible to add a song to multiple playlists simultaneously. Just a nice little UI improvement. And Apple Music will show upcoming concerts and shows in your area. If you have a few artists marked as your favorite.
That's more than handy. That's the feature I'm most looking forward to for sure.
I was going to say the same thing.
You remember the old? I mean, like there used to be San Francisco used to have a couple of weekly newspapers, didn't it? The Bay Guardian and what was the other one?
SF Weekly.
Actually, that was the better one, wasn't it? The SF Weekly. I preferred that. But I used to pick that thing up the day it came out, and I would scour for all the concerts coming up. And since then, I don't have a discovery mechanism. I have no idea what's showing.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
I feel adrift without it.
Me
And
too.
Every now and then I see something on Facebook like, hey, this band's coming to town. And I'm always like, what? That's interesting. And I've come across some bands that I actually like in that way. But, maybe I see something on X or something too. But, the whole the whole like how do I know what's coming to town is just broken.
Yeah.
Now that at least for me, now that those newspapers are gone.
Yeah, me
and
too.
Same thing. I used to look at oddly enough, I would flip straight to the ads. Because the Fillmore would always have a giant ad.
Right.
Here's who's coming to the Fillmore this week.
Yeah.
I used to. I was editor in chief of a publication in Cincinnati called Everybody's News, and that was a big reason people picked it up was because of those club listings. And complete nightmare to pull together. You have to contact all these clubs and get all this information. This is way back when. We actually had to use a telephone. But yeah, I mean, it's I can't tell you how many times lately I've seen like, I'll see something on X, coming to town. 3 days ago. It's like, crap, I really like that band and I missed it.
I see the pictures of the video, like, Big O Dynamite played at Outside Lands, and it's like, you're joking, you're kidding me, one of my favorite bands ever, and I only learn about it after the fact. Yeah, it's crushing.
It happens to me all the time. And
Me too.
I've signed up for mailing lists of people that I really like, and, even then, like, our band doesn't send out emails every time we got a gig coming up. It's like this part of connecting with fans that is just kind of broken.
Yeah.
And I don't. If Apple Music could do this, and every time that I listen to, Black Sabbath's a bad example, but every time somebody listens to a Those Darn Accordion song, a little thing pops up and goes, "Hey, they're playing in Reno this next week." That would be awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely
definitely,
awesome.
definitely.
Get your ticket now. Click here.
Well, Apple's resurrected the Apple Music Connect, hasn't it? But it's not for fans anymore. It's just for artists. Did you read that story?
I did not, because I heard it was just for artists and labels.
It's kind of like Podcast Connect, how that's for like uploading, your podcast to Apple Podcasts and like checking analytics and things. Like it's entirely a back end thing, not Apple Music Connect or Ping. Is the parallel of like a social network.
So it's not going to feed
music.
into the Apple Music app as to service fans.
No, not really.
Well, I wonder how comprehensive this concert feature will be. I mean, like if it is pretty comprehensive for a whole bunch of different bands and venues, then yeah, it'll be fantastic.
I wonder where they'll get that data from. I mean, there are apps out there. What is it? Bands Near Me? Is that the app? I can't even remember. There's several apps like that. Which
I think Apple Music
I've
Connect,
checked
like
out
the new
times,
one, is where they'll do it. Like it's intended for people who run bands or labels or something to upload
right, that's what I
marketing
was
materials as
wondering.
well. You can request to be featured. Presumably concerts on there will be as well.
If that becomes if a band could feed all the data into that thing, and if a lot of bands do it, then maybe it would be pretty good. So they're getting it from the bands rather than from the venue. You remember, like you were saying, you found the venues, all the local venues. Well,
right.
I don't know. If it came from the band, that's how I found out about it too. Like like I know Nick Cave, I think is, or I heard who was a band. Oh my God, I forgot now. But anyway, a favorite band of mine was touring. So of course, you got to look up the tour dates and you see if they're coming local. That's how I do it these days. But it's very, very. I miss a lot of stuff. Miss all these my favorite bands.
And it requires like searching it out. It's shocking how hard it is to find out a band's touring schedule. Sometimes you search, you look online, you finally find a page, and then you see that like, oh, look at all these dates, and then you notice that they're from last year. I mean, it's kind of a pain in the ass to update a web page.
It's definitely something that's broken, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, fingers crossed Apple fixes it.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Should we talk about the other features in the new beta?
Yes. With iOS 26.4, Apple will enable end-to-end encryption in the Messages app for RCS conversations. While iMessage already supports end-to-end encryption, cross-platform RCS messaging missed out on this. End-to-end encryption in the Messages app only works for iPhone to iPhone RCS conversations, which is weird because surely if you're talking iPhone to iPhone, you're using iMessage. But I guess if you're texting someone who hasn't set up iMessage for some odd reason, you can get RCS instead. RCS is sort of like, that's like the industry new standard thing. So it's kind of hard to enable end-to-end encryption on it. Like Google also has end-to-end encryption on its RCS, but again, only between Google phones. Like it's sort of a proprietary thing built on top of the standard. So they say cross-platform support will arrive later, presumably because they need to, finalize the standard for how to make RCS end-to-end encrypted coming later. And it's also only available on select carriers and devices, according to people on Reddit who are sometimes the smartest or sometimes just, bullshitting. It doesn't seem to be available yet in the EU and the UK, or presumably other parts of the world. But, slow rollout, tentative rollout. We'll see. End-to-end encryption could come for green bubble texting. But,
yeah, very
maybe
welcome,
not
very
yet.
welcome.
It'll also add video support to Apple Podcasts right now you can have a video podcast, but it's much in the same way that, an MP3 file podcast works, where you're requesting people to just download a giant video file at once. It's not streaming, and it's also an entirely separate feed. This is smarter. It works more like Spotify, where if you have a supported podcast host, you can give them the video and it'll stream it, like you're streaming over YouTube or Netflix. And there's even a toggle where you can instantly switch between video and audio versions of the show, like at the push of a button, which is super handy. And it still supports downloading videos for offline viewing. It uses HLS technology, if you happen to know what that is. There are a few interesting points to this. Number one being that presumably for this to work, for the, instant toggle to switch between video and audio, you would need to have your audio and video versions be exactly the same, which is how we produce our show. But a lot of other shows don't do it that way. They edit the podcast version as a podcast, and they might have a separate edit of the video, or like the Cultcast. We used to live stream it on YouTube and then have the audio version. So, those weren't in sync either, because, the YouTube live stream would have like a whole intro before the actual podcast intro. It wouldn't be edited like the audio version. So, you couldn't just like switch between audio and video at the same timestamp, because they wouldn't line up at all. That's something that our show does, but not a lot of other shows do. So I wonder how that's going to work.
But the next feature is the really exciting thing. Ability to dynamically insert ads. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh yeah. So with HLS technology, it supports dynamically inserted video ads.
That's very exciting.
All of the fun of those dynamically inserted audio ads, but now with video, so you'll be forced to watch those as well.
Well, as a podcast publisher, that's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm super excited about being able to switch between video and audio versions, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and sometimes I'm like, wow, I'd like to see the thing they're referencing, or even just know what this person looks like, or the look on their face when they say this. Are they kidding, or are they deadly serious? So being able to just say, oh, I want to watch the video for a second, that would be great.
Why did it take Apple so long to get around to doing this stuff? I mean, Marco Arment, who does the Accidental Tech podcast, has said for quite a few years the best thing that ever happened to podcasts was Apple neglecting it. And the fact that it didn't mess it up, all these other providers, they were doing things like dynamically inserted ads and, some of the sort of, possibly listener hostile stuff. And Apple leaving it alone and not mucking around with it was the best thing that ever happened to it. But
it wasn't possible before, because this goes beyond, an RSS feed with an MP3 attached to it, which is what podcasting has been, since it launched 20 years ago. This is, adding like streaming video, which is much more complicated.
Well, our own experience, showed what happened. That a lot of people were going to YouTube, weren't they? A lot of podcasters were migrating to YouTube because that was the only place to, the best place to do video. And video is obviously where it's at, which is the reason why we do a video and an audio version of the podcast, because, we just don't want to get left behind. So, so Apple is taking on YouTube, isn't it? With this, it's all that's going to be their main competitor.
I guess going back to my earlier point about switching between audio and video, one advantage that Apple has is that they build the live transcripts of each podcast if it's a public podcast, and that even works even if you have a dynamically inserted ad in the middle of the podcast. I think what Apple is doing something clever where they make their own transcription of it. But then if your MP3 file is a little bit different, I think they still try and sync it up. So even if you have a dynamically inserted ad, you can still tap on part of the transcript to skip ahead to that part, even if it might not necessarily be the same timestamp on, everybody's different version of it, which is interesting. So they might actually do something kind of like that, toggling between an audio and video that are different, where they'll have a transcript of the audio, they'll make a separate transcript of the video, and then try and like line them up. So if you tap on, the line where I say this, and it's a different timestamp on the audio compared to the video, they can still sort of match them up. Maybe they'll do something clever like that.
Yeah.
That would be a way around it,
They'll probably get maybe they get some smarter Siri to handle it.
Yeah. Apple Intelligence will figure
All
it
right.
out.
Are there any other features worth mentioning in the new beta?
A redesigned wallpaper gallery.
Woohoo!
Well, let's skip over
Finally.
that. Let's talk about the the top 10 MacBook Air setups. So we ran a feature this week, a roundup of the best setups revolving around a MacBook Air, and this one is probably one of the best setups I've ever seen. I think this thing is crazy. It's super interesting. Tons of things to talk about. Lewis, why don't you describe what's going on in this picture?
Yeah, what is going on in this picture? The centerpiece is half of a MacBook Air. he's got the bottom part, the keyboard and the trackpad just sitting there, no screen. And it's powering two different monitors. And off to the side, he's got some kind of MagSafe iPhone stand or charger. I can't actually see that well. It's kind of a dark picture. But and then on the right, he's got a Mac SE30. Is that what it is? That's the one that I had when I was in college. And a iMac G3 iMac, both of which are lit up like they're working. But apparently, it's even weirder than that. The SE30 has an Amazon Echo Show inside it, and the iMac G3 is being run by a second M1 MacBook Air. So
Griffin's horrified by that. The fact that he completely gutted a beautiful machine like the SE30 and defiled it with an Amazon Echo.
So the SE30, it's incredible that you had one in college, Lewis, because those were not cheap Macs. The SE30 was the most it was the most powerful compact all-in-one Mac of the original all-in-one Macs with 9-inch screens. It had a much more powerful processor than any other one with the 68030. It had an expansion card slot. It had support for up to 128 megabytes of RAM at the time when like the Macintosh Classic only supported like up to 4.
Yeah, and it cost about $8,000 in today's money, right?
Yeah, like those were incredible machines. And I will say among the compact Macs, I think it's the ugliest. It has way too many vents. The face of it isn't balanced really well because it has the floppy drive like really low. It's kind of a weird looking one. The Snow White design wasn't attached to the compact Mac. But
I like the idea that he's given it new life with an Amazon Echo Show, because those Echo Shows are fantastic. But I was trying to wonder which one it was. It must have been, would it be the 8-inch or the 10-inch one? You know how they look? It's like a speaker, like a HomePod speaker with a iPad mini grafted on the top of it. And usually they follow you around. They move. So maybe he managed to shove one of those in that box there.
It's got to be the 8-inch one because the SE30 had a 9-inch screen, so it couldn't go bigger. But he takes one of these revered greatest Macs of all time and guts it and puts in some Amazon garbage. So the minus 30
maybe it didn't
points.
work.
Minus 68030 points for that.
Yeah, exactly. It probably all its capacitors were dying. Probably it probably was like it's either that or the landfill. So I'm glad to see it get a new life.
Same thing with the iMac, right?
Yeah, that's a mystery. How's the iMac working? Because he says it's run by a second M1 MacBook Air, but what's going on?
So you can tell the SE30 has something different replacing its screen because the screen on it is perfectly square in the image. Right. It's not curved. Whereas it looks like the screen of the iMac is curved, so it's like the actual iMac CRT in there. And there are a number of ways that you can hook up a CRT like iMac or Macintosh screen to something else. It's a little bit hacky, but it looks like he's gone through the effort of doing that properly. So,
he sawed a MacBook in half. So
yeah, I was wondering whether it was the screen from the old Mac, the headless MacBook that he'd used, but it's not big enough.
It looks like it's a different Mac because they have different wallpapers and it's sort of way off to the side. But I think it's funny that we have a list of the top 10 best MacBook Air setups, and the one we've chosen is one that has 1.5 MacBook Airs.
And it looks like he's using it for gaming. He's got a game controller there, doesn't he?
A Nintendo GameCube controller, so he knows his gaming stuff.
but his gaming iMac G3 has the hideous mouse, right?
That's not the hideous mouse. That's the good apology mouse, the good shaped mouse.
That was the better one. Yeah, it's not the hockey puck, not the the one that's guaranteed to give you
that was
RSI.
the worst. But then it looks like he's also got a proper Logitech mouse for the.
That headless iMac though is genius. I saw that. I think was it HP just recently, the last couple of months released a computer and a keyboard. I think was it HP, and like given that the motherboards for most of the modern computers are the size of like an iPhone motherboard these days, you could easily put a whole computer into a keyboard, and it's really interesting, isn't it, that you can get the whole machine just like that. I think it was genius. I was like, oh my god, that's super clever, using the keyboard and the trackpad as the at the same time as the main input. It's a crazy form factor, isn't it? Like an alternative to the Mac Mini. I don't know. Would you buy something like that if Apple offered it?
Hell no.
I mean, the problem with like getting a MacBook Air and plugging it into a display and using it like that is that either you can have the screen open and just have like a tiny screen below your regular screen, or you keep it closed, but then you can't use the keyboard and Touch ID and the trackpad. So this is a nice in between.
Yeah. And I've seen people. It's a good way to get a cheap because often the screen. Isn't that one of the? I've seen people with broken screens, selling MacBook Pros on eBay. If you're happy with you can just take the screen off, can't you? If it has a broken screen, and use the just the CPU and the keyboard and the trackpad alone. I suppose we haven't seen more of these.
The person who did it says, referring to getting rid of the broken screen or removing the broken screen, he says it was easy. You just have to take your time. I wonder how long that took, surgery.
Yeah, very cool setup. I like it a lot. It's a bit crowded maybe, but and it's got a Pixar lamp there too.
I think unlike a lot of the setups they talk about that look so perfectly arranged, like this is clearly, he just like took a picture of his desk. It looks very realistic,
not
down
staged.
to earth
Right.
in that way.
It's real. One last thing to mention, there's a camera on top of the SE30 pointing at himself. Oh, obviously, what am I thinking? It's just for podcasting. I was wondering why is he spying on himself?
Jeez, oh my God.
Well, it looks like a security camera, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just looks like a cam. I don't know. Yeah. What's the thing to the left underneath the screen there?
Looks like I think.
Oh. I thought it looked like some kind of digital projector also pointing at his face.
There's another one right in front of the headless MacBook. There's two, I think, for a stereo pair. You see under the middle screen?
Yeah.
And that looks like a remote control that's all lit up, like a TV remote.
So that's one of 10 MacBook Air setups.
That's true. You can peruse the other ones in the link in the description.
Yeah. Check out the post. It's a great post, isn't it? There's a lot of nice stuff in there.
Always nice to get some inspiration on how to make your own setup better.
Right, for sure. Okay, we have a review. Someone called Hefty Bags, which is a great name, left us a review on Apple Podcasts. And Hefty Bags said, I know you guys are new to podcasting.
If only.
Not quite true.
Nobody tell him.
With only a few episodes in so far, you are allowed to swear on the podcast, and you don't have to send her curse words if they slip out. It's annoying and childish.
Childish?
Yeah.
There are two reasons for this. For one, you're allowed to swear on a podcast, but you're not allowed to swear on YouTube. You have to mark it as, being explicit, and that limits who you can show it to. I mean, the other reason I censor them is because, we don't know, where our listeners are listening to this. Maybe they're listening to it in the car and they're subjecting their children to this. Maybe there's, playing it while they're cooking dinner and they might be around, if not actively listening. It does make it more accessible if this is a podcast you can put on and it'll be safe for your kids. So, we don't want to limit our audience.
Exactly. If you're putting out a podcast for a general audience, you definitely don't want to be putting stuff like that in. And this is a lesson I learned at newspapers, where they forbid this kind of, salty language too, because you don't know who's going to be picking it up, and if you're going to put out for a general audience, you have to make it suitable for all the members of the audience, not just the adults.
God damn it, what's this cocksucker talking about?
Oh my God.
I mean, the other thing is, I actually think it's funnier if you have a swear that's censored. If you do it the right way, I actually leave enough of each word in so that you can sort of tell what we're saying if you listen closely. But I mean, if Lewis were to respond to me and say, everything you just said is completely wrong, and I just go, oh, fuck. I think it's funnier if it's censored. Maybe it's just like a personal taste thing, but I think it's funnier because, you know, in like the less is more kind of way. Like you don't hear me say it. It leaves it up to the imagination.
I find it amusing too.
You know?
Well, if you like swearing, we have a great clip, which we may put up this week, right? And you can see how we really talk.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I've never heard anybody complain about swears being censored. I mean, I understand the thing. I remember back in college, you know, like running a quote, you know, if we were interviewing bands, you know, guess what? They swear. And I was always a huge proponent back then of like, what did they say? Print what they said. Podcast seems different, you know, especially since it's not, you know, it's not like a journalistic thing. It's just we're just having fun, and you don't need to subject people to this if they don't want to hear this crap. They don't want to hear. I think your point about, you know, kids. That's even especially. It doesn't like a little E shows up by the podcast too, right? So it probably affects findability,
right?
Although maybe some people search explicitly for the E.
Well, it's like slapping an R rating on a movie, isn't it? It instantly limits, like, you know, the audience and who's going to be going to see it. So we don't want to kneecap it from the very get go.
Well, you know, thank you for your input. We'll continue to beep our swears.
Yeah. Thanks for the input. And please, you know, like if you do have a question or a comment, you know, we'd love to get it. We'd love to see it. Let's talk about a review. This is I hate gaming, and I always get killed instantly. But I'm interested in affine game controllers. You know, they seem to be a great way to enhance the gaming experience. And Griffin's got his hands on one that is really good. It's like half the price of some of the competing ones. And so, you know, this kind of makes it for the game controller for the rest of us.
So this is the GameSir X5s. GameSir, I think, is a pretty well-known name in terms of making game controllers for iPhones, and they also make like third-party controllers for Xboxes if you want to get a new Xbox controller. But phone controllers is one of their big things, and this is one of their, not quite their lowest end model, but this is like the next to cheapest one they have. So it's super affordable. It's sort of its shtick. So if you're not sure if you want to, get a controller for your iPhone, maybe I'll get it, but I don't know if I'll carry it around. I don't know if I'll use it. This is a great sort of entry level model if you just want to like dabble in it a little bit. So it comes in this little plastic carrying case so that you can toss it in your bag and don't have to worry about buttons getting mashed.
Good Lord. I thought that was the thing itself.
I know. I was going, what do you mean little? It's gigantic.
Yeah, this is the actual thing. So here it is compared to a PlayStation 4 controller. You can see it's like a little wider. In terms of the design, what I noticed is that the hand grips don't extend out like as far as like a normal controller would. So, if you're holding a PS4 controller, the grips sort of, sit in the middle of your palm. Whereas because this is supposed to be a mobile controller, they don't want to make it too bulky. So the grips are a little shorter and more cut off.
Does it make any difference?
It does feel weird, if you're used to having a full-size controller that it doesn't fill your hand as much, but
it doesn't. It
keeps
still
it lightweight,
usable,
keeps
though, right?
it kind of portable. Oh yeah, perfectly usable. It just sort of sits higher up in my hand than I might be used to. Mm-hmm. It's still super curvy, super ergonomic, super comfortable. Like it's the back is textured, curves to your hand so you can wrap your hands around it.
What about different size phones? So you put a phone in the middle there, right?
Yes. So it actually stretches out. And it stretches out really far. Wow. So you can not just put a phone in it.
Put a big iPad in there.
You can put an iPad mini in here. Another advantage is that you can put a Nintendo Switch in here. Mm-hmm. So the problem with using the Nintendo Switch handheld for so long is that its Joy-Cons are just completely flat and angular. This is much more comfortable. You just slide your phone in. It's stretchy. It stretches up to like, I think 9 or 10 inches wide, something like that. So really any size phone will fit in here. The buttons feel really good, and I'll show a quick game here. Once you have your phone in a controller, then suddenly playing games like Super Mario 64,
Good choice.
on an emulator. This game would be completely unplayable otherwise on a touch screen because it just has so many controls. Sometimes you can get away with playing like an RPG like Pokemon on a phone because you're not doing anything like super intense. You only have like a few buttons, whereas this is a super advanced game with all kinds of buttons and controls that you have to hit 3 things or 4 things at once.
The one game I play is the old arcade game Scramble. You're a spaceship and it's a sideways scroller, and the on-screen controls. It used to have a joystick and a couple of buttons on the arcade, and on this the one you can get now, it has on-screen controls and it's completely impossible to play. So even for simple games, you don't have to have a complicated game. It'll make it usable even for ones with very simple controls.
It's super great playing 2D platformers on it because, again, you have the precision of multiple buttons, physical buttons. You can rest your finger on a button before you're ready to press it. It makes the whole experience an order of magnitude nicer for playing other games. But also, because it's a officially supported Apple controller, it has this button on it that instantly takes you to the Apple Games app when you open it, which has controller support. So you can put your phone in this, hit that button, and then launch a game on Apple Arcade,
Awesome.
in just a minute. So that's really handy too. A lot of Apple Arcade games have full controller support as well. So I just launched a racing game called Asphalt 8, which is one of the only games that I play on my phone if I were to play one. And now I've got a much better, way to play it. In terms of the button layout, a few controllers vary their button layout a little bit. Out of the box, it comes with sort of an Xbox style button layout. So you have the A button on the bottom and the B button on the right, which isn't ideal for playing Nintendo games because they have the button layouts reversed the other way. But one thing nice about this controller is that it's super easy to switch them.
Here comes the tweezers.
A pair of tweezers, and swapping them is basically as simple as pulling them out.
And there goes flying across the room.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And you think, okay, well, you can change the labels, but how do you change the actual button mappings? Well, you can do that too. If you launch the GameSir app, you connect your controller to it. One of the options is button settings, where you can pick a layout, the Xbox layout or a Nintendo layout.
Oh, wow.
You've got your choice right there. I actually don't know where the other one went. Hopefully I can find that later.
That's what I was talking about. It's like when you drop your AirPods and they always go under the fridge or something.
God.
So that's super handy. You can have the button layout that you prefer, so long as you don't lose your buttons and send them flying off screen when you're in the middle of a podcast. But that's not further, because this accessory has an accessory of its own that you can install. If you have an older iPhone, like any iPhone made out of titanium, the 15 Pro, the 16 Pro, or the iPhone Air, that your phone gets hot, especially if you're playing a full 3D game on Apple Arcade with a lot of graphics and ray tracing. So for that, they produce this thing, this FX5 fan. So how it works is, on the controller, you have sort of like a bar that goes across the back of your phone, and you can install this fan onto it. So it has a little metal contact that sticks to your phone and it keeps the heat off. And then you attach to that.
Oh my goodness.
A battery module.
Good God.
It snaps on and then instantly it starts blowing air. And you have a few different fan speeds you can set it to. The orange one is the fastest, obviously.
Where's the air coming from? At the side?
It blows out of the fan and up through these vents.
Okay.
So
I dare you to try to take that through airport check, TSA check. My God, you look like you're going to blow up a bridge or something.
It's glowing orange. And you know what? It keeps your phone really cool. I played with it for a while, and there was not necessarily a noticeable difference in graphics. This is for if you want to play a game for really extended periods of time of an hour or more. Your phone might throttle its speed if it gets too hot, but not with this thing on it. That's for sure.
So you can actually feel it cooling the phone down. It has a noticeable effect.
Yeah. You can actually feel that your phone does not get as hot.
Wow.
I was thinking a a lot of the times when you're setting up a new iPhone, transferring your old phone to the new phone, that's another time where your phone gets hot. Maybe the next time I do that, I'll attach this to it, and then I'm sure it won't. So,
Jeez.
Will it heat up your house?
This has utility beyond gaming.
That's quite and how much is this thing, Griffin?
I mean, as far as game controllers go, it's super cheap. It's only $50, and then the FX5 thermoelectric cooler is $40. So you've got a real pro gaming setup here, and it's regularly on sale too on Amazon. I think sometimes I've seen it for like $30 or $35. So
that doesn't come with the controller. That's an add-on accessory.
The cooler is a separate product.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can just get the controller for like $50 or maybe even less if you catch it on a sale, and then you're all set. Like as I said, this isn't the most advanced iPhone gaming controller. Like it has a few niceties like Hall effect joysticks that won't wear out. The buttons feel good, but it's not like a pro system. This isn't their nicest controller, but yeah,
definitely a really good entry level one. I mean, I guess if you have a newer iPhone with a vapor cooling chamber, maybe you don't need that cooler.
If you got an older titanium iPhone like mine, then it's practically essential.
So have you been glued to that thing then for weeks now? Is that working?
I don't play a lot of games on my phone. I actually have a big book that I need to read for an upcoming podcast segment in a few weeks. So I haven't a lot of time to play games, but when I do play games on my phone, I mean, I absolutely grab this every time.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Are you interested in that, Lewis? Do that have any interest to you?
I like the extent of my iPhone gaming is like Wordle.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't need a reason to spend more time staring at my phone, to be quite honest.
I love games if you're any good at them. Ratchet and Clank, I mastered that on the PlayStation. We used to have it set up in the basement for some reason. I used to go down there with all the rats and the cockroaches and play for hours on sitting on this beanbag, and I got really good at it in the end. And was really addicted to it, actually. It's super addictive. You just, one more level, one more boss, one more whatever. It's hard to drag yourself away from it. So this is really intriguing to me because I really did enjoy them. But on-screen controls suck. It does make a big difference, having the buttons there. And $50 is kind of like, I'm not going to spend $100 for something I'm not going to use. But 50 I might. I don't know. And especially if it's on sale.
It's a pretty neat controller.
Cool. Awesome. Did you crash there already?
I did, yeah, because I'm missing the button that I would need to press.
Right.
It flew off.
Hopefully you'll find that. Good luck.
I do sometimes wonder, like, how much fun would Apple Arcade be if you had something like that? Because, I mean, the few times I've ever opened anything in Apple Arcade, I don't know, the on-screen tapping and this and that, I don't find it all that compelling.
No.
So,
and if you can use it, but putting an iPad in there too would make it better because it's kind of more fun to play with a bigger screen. Apple Arcade's getting really awesome now, isn't it? It's got a whole bunch of great games.
I did actually check because I was curious. Would the folding iPhone fit inside this when I get it? I'm a little scared to try it because I don't want to break it, but because this is a delicate plastic thing. But I checked and it is wide enough, so I've got that to look forward to.
Future proof.
It's going to buckle.
All right, awesome demo there, Griffin. I thought that was actually great. Thanks so much. And I guess that's about it. That's time to wrap it up. That's all we have for you this week. Thanks so much. Please give us a 5-star rating, no less than 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. And also share this show with anybody who you think might listen to this. Text us or send us a question on iMessage to cultofmacpodcast@icloud.com. That's cultofmacpodcast@icloud.com. You can send us questions for the show, comments, troubleshooting issues, whatever you like. We look forward to getting them.
Send us an audio message, send us a video message.
Yeah.
Like.
And we'll put it on the show, So here's a chance to shine on this fantastic leading Apple podcast. If you like, you can find Lewis on Twitter. He's at Lewis Wallace. Griffin's on Mastodon at D. Griffin Jones. And I write the newsletter every day at Cult of Mac, newsletter at newsletters.cultofmac.com. So thanks you very much for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Goodbye.
See ya.